Well, welcome everybody back to another market update. Today we're going to be talking about Crucible of War. I got to say today's update, it might be a little bit premature to see the new market prices based on the print run of WTR Alpha and Arcane Rising First being 16,667 booster boxes as opposed to what we thought it was 22,000. And I don't think the market has quite finished reacting to that. There's still, it seems like what happened is everybody kind of pulled their listings off. And so there wasn't as many sold listings that I actually thought we were going to see this week, especially the last 48 hours. But lots of sealed boxes selling, a lot of stuff still to talk about. I just want to give you a quick heads up that I think the market's going to be really, really moving over the next week, the next 2 weeks, the next really month. So make sure that you're tracking your own prices as well before you sell or buy anything. Also, this says Crucible of War, but we are talking about Arcane Rising. So, all right, let's give you the kind of shindig here. I always like to shout out Mitch over at Midtown Merchant. Mitch just released a bunch of new cards from WTR and Arcane Unlimited. Use my promo code JustLove10. Mitch is a great friend. It's been a lot of fun to hang out and talk. I kind of shared a video today of me chatting with George. Me, Mitch, and George have a group chat that's pretty active. Almost every day we're chatting. So they're both two great guys. George is at Compete Sports and Mitch is over at Midtown Merchant. And then I also have a promo code for TCG Player. That link is in my description. That really does support the channel. I get a little bit of kickback if you use the TCG Player link. But really the best option if you want to support my content is to join my Patreon. But it's not just for me. I think it really is a great deal for you. You get access to a collection tracker that looks something like this. We're actually in the process of putting together collection tracker version 2.0 that's going to be a little bit more printer friendly and have a couple more additional things there for you. But this one works fine now. It automatically updates with the price of the cards when I do my collection or my EV trackers. I think it's a really great deal. You also get access to my Discord server. You get access to box openings and box breaks at a $5 discount and a lot of other stuff. It's just $5 a month. And then I do have a podcast called If I Were Investing, which is kind of where I give you more of my opinions on the market. And this video is more of my cold hard facts that I see. So without further ado, let's hop into Arcane Rising Unlimited. Today, I'm seeing Arcane Rising around 95. Really, if you shop around, you can get boxes between 85 and 100. Just shop around, wait for somebody like George to put out an offer at $80 a box. There are some other stores I think that are probably doing that too, but Compete Sports on Facebook, make sure you look them up and be looking for them. Yeah, boxes just came out, so for the next couple while you should be able to get boxes around $90, but eBay's got them between 95 and 100. The Fabled, the Eye of Ophidium, is selling right now for $5.75. Quick note, I usually try to have a lot of evidence for a lot of the listings, but 130 point is actually down right now. So I've had to use watch count to dig in and to look up the actual sold listings of anything that has been a best offer that was accepted. And it's just a ton of work to get that all set up. So usually I use 130 point. I can just click and it shows us the price. But I had to do that to look up all the values. I just didn't have the time to do it again for the video. So I'd use two different computers. Anyway, your Eye of Ophidia is selling for $5.75. It is very interesting to note that we all thought there was a misprint based on the collection center. And it'll be interesting to see if that ever gets fixed or not. But up 15%. We had a huge retracement last week again as a lot of boxes were opened, and we talked about that last week. So your all-time high for the Eye of Ophidia I think was around 700. Yeah, about 3 weeks ago. But now we're back up to 575. The Legendaries are pretty hot this week. We had a huge retracement last week, but now we're up 7%. Your Teklo Foundry Core, your Teklo Foundry Heart is up to 120. Skullbone Crosswrap down actually to 125. That card has been pretty hot lately with a lot of Monarchs kind of speculation, but now this week, again with more boxes being opened, some of the cards were soft. That's actually the only one. But Grass the Arc Knight up to 115, Storm Striders up to 110, and Arcane Knight Skullcap up to 185. That puts your average legendary from Arcane Rising sitting at $131, which is up 7% from last week. And you can see this chart. Like, I love looking at this chart because it's so stable. Even when there's new print boxes, it comes out. It just means that people are really playing the game, that collectors are sticking to the first edition stuff, and that Unlimited is really, really being played, and more players keep coming into the game. The Majestic Rainbow Foils this week, we were actually down 2%. Really nothing to talk about too much. A couple of dollars here and there. Even like Command and Conquer Rainbow Foil from 110 to 115. It's still not our all-time highs. It's just kind of, again, same thing I said with the Legendaries. Lots of people playing the game, but there's also lots of packs being opened. So it's kind of this perfect storm where a lot of the prices just kind of stick at what we thought they were going to be. So your average Rainbow Foil Majestic is sitting at $34. Again, that's a retracement of 2%. I mean, look at how even. It's great. I think that speaks so much to the health of Flesh and Blood. The regular Majestics, this is the non-foil versions, are up 6% with a huge push in Command and Conquer. And a lot of people, again, are kind of speculating on this card. I'm not sure why the Rainbow Foil hasn't been moving as much as the non-foil version. But a lot of people kind of speculating on this card for Monarch. Speculating on an unlimited card, it has its own inherent risks, but people think that the card value is going to go up based on the class being better, based on the arsenal being better in Monarch. So Command and Conquer speaks a lot about the arsenal. Really, that's the biggest movement here. A couple bucks here and there on the other cards, but 65 to 73 is really driving that 6% growth, with your average Majestic sitting at $17. The super rares, let's move over there. This is the Rainbow Foil version. Your average is sitting at $4.35. That's another 5% loss, the same loss as we had last week. This is all over the board. There's no specific card that's up or down. All over the board, the cards are down. Nothing to really talk about. Induction Chamber actually down the most, and this is like the first week that Induction Chamber has been down. Not as many people are playing Mechanologist, and it just kind of is what it is. But Come the Arcane actually was up though. From $5 to $6.75. So all in all, though, a 5% loss at $4.35 for your average Rainbow Foil Super Rare. If you want to care about a graph, I mean, we started out high and we have just dropped and now plateaued. The regular Super Rares, this is the non-foil versions, just a 1%. Nothing changed, really, nothing at all. $2.44 is your average, and if you care about that graph too, it's very similar, right? Like the Super Rares just couldn't hold their own, and now they're plateauing. All right, the rares, your average Rainbow Foil rare, just keep in mind that on this spreadsheet, I just use the TCG low prices for the rares, $1.55 for your average Rainbow Foil rare. And your rare, it doesn't really matter, but your average is at 22 cents. The common Rainbow Foils, you still got some value in the equipment slots. I kind of had a feeling that these were going to tank, and they've kind of plateaued, honestly, and haven't really moved in any direction. So I guess it's good to see that you still have some value or a little bit of value. You can get a $4 or $5 card from one of those common slots, but all in all, your average is still at $1. Let's get to the EV calculation. In each box, you're going to get 42 rares. That's going to even out to about $9, even though you're not really going to be able to sell them for that. Maybe you can sell them in bulk. You're going to get 4 foil rares, or, even better, you just play the game, right? 4 foil rares, 4 super rares, 1 foil super rare. You're going to get 2 Majestics in a box, and then 1 in every 4 boxes will have a Majestic Rainbow Foil, and 1 every 4 box will have a Legendary as well. That puts your chance at a Fabled. I lock in at 1 in 40. There's been a lot of conversation about that. Everywhere I've kind of believed in the evidence, I really believe 1 in 40 boxes is Fabled, and my own personal openings have been less than 1 in 40. I haven't had to go and open 50 boxes or 60 boxes to get a Fabled, and I know that's not enough of a market thing, but my personal belief is that 1 in 40 is your chance in Fabled. So your box EV, if you were to open 40 boxes, would be sitting at $119.77, but chances are you're not going to be opening 40 boxes, so you got to kind of take out that chance at the Fable. If you're opening 4 boxes, a whole case, you're going to be sitting close to this 119. But if you're not opening 40 boxes, you're not going to hit there. If you're only opening 1 box, you're not going to get the Legendary, you're not going to get the Fabled, so your value really is sitting at around $72 a box, which is still pretty good when a box costs you $80 or $85. But just be weary if you're buying a $100 box. Unless you're buying a case at like $400, you'll probably still come up. EV chart, let's compare this to last week. So last week we were at 114. This week we're at 119. We're up 5% overall. And let's take a look at the top 10 cards from each kind of class. So the top 10 foil gainers become the Arc Knight. Super Rare Rainbow Foil went from 5 to 675. That's a 35% gain. Endless Arrow, it's another super rare, went from 350 to 422. That's another 20% gain. And then the Eye of Ophidia actually popping up, the Fabled popping up, went from 500 to 575, which is up 15%. We had a huge spike down last week, and now we're kind of starting to go right back up. The weekly non-foil gainers, Spark of Genius, another super rare making this list, going from $3 to $5 with a change of 66%. Blazing Aether, a Majestic, going from $6 to $8. That's a change of 33%. And then Sonic Boom, which, by the way, there was a graded Sonic Boom 9.5 alpha, first edition that sold for $1,100. We'll chat about that. Went from $850 to $975 with a change of 14%. And then your cards that lost the most value were Rapid Fire. It was cooling off a little bit, went from $3.45 to $2. That's a change of 42%. Induction Chamber, which we already talked about, Mechanologist, went from $640 to $450. That's a 30% loss. And then Rusted Relic, which nobody plays anyway, went from $1 to 75 cents, which doesn't really matter. Your non-foil losers was 3 of a kind. Interesting to see some Ranger cards on this list. Went from $5 to $3.25. That's a loss of 35%. Forked Lightning went from $2.74 to $2. That's a change of 22%. And Red in the Ledger went from $9 to $7. That's a change of 22% as well. All right, that was Unlimited. Let's go ahead and talk about Arcane Rising first. It's going to be crazy. You're going to be upset with me when I talk about it. There's a crazy amount of stuff going on. So remember, my podcast, If I Were Investing, tells you more of my opinions. I'm just going to try my best to give you the cold, hard facts on this right now. But the market is absolutely crazy right now. So let's talk about it. First off, let's talk about sealed boxes, because it's nuts. I mean, it's crazy. We went from 1,800 and you couldn't sell a box. I mean, 1,800. Remember last week I was like, well, 1 or 2 sold for 1,800, but we still had them selling for like 1,700. Well, I had one box on eBay that I had put up there at 2,800 just because I didn't think it was ever going to get there. And yesterday I had like 6 offers at the $2,100 mark, and then I took it off and I upped the price to like $7,000. I don't actually want to sell it. I want to keep it. I just put it out there to get out feelers for prices, which is terrible. But anyway, but we did have confirmed sales at 2,400 this morning. And then when I went and looked this up, a box just sold for $3,500 for a box of WTR first edition. And we'll get to Alpha tomorrow. It'll be interesting to get to that. I haven't really done the research on it yet. But a box sold for $3,400. Prices, everyone's starting to boop. Everyone's starting to increase their prices on TCG on eBay. I would not say that this is the accurate price. I would kind of say more like this. I know a bunch of them sold on TCG Player at this price, but yeah, things are really, really starting to move as people start realizing or confirmed how much more rare or how equally rare Arcane Rising is to WTR. So very, very interesting to see a $3,500 sold one there. I'm going to keep it at $2,400 because there's been a lot more sold at that price, and this one seems like an outlier. But just keep that in mind if you are shopping or selling a box. Again, do your own research because things are going to change this week like freaking crazy. I'm telling you that right now. It's going to be a nuts week. So keep that in mind. The Eye of Ophidia, we did have a sold listing at $15,000. I will pop that up for you. Cold foil. Sorry, I can pop that one up. That was not a buy it now. I cannot. This one, a 9.5 was a great deal, but this one sold for $15,000. This is raw. It's a good condition. Sold for $15,000. So we're starting to see movement on the Eye as well. I would say that right now it'd be hard to buy an Eye for $15,000, to be honest. That was a quick market. It happened very, very quick after the market information popped up. So. All right, let's get to the legendaries. Again, here's the thing with these. Really only 2 sold listings on public markets. I looked on Discord, I looked on Facebook, I looked on TCG Player, and I looked on eBay. And it's just not there. A lot of people just up their prices. As soon as the market happened, a lot of people up their prices anticipating this. So over the next week, the next 2 weeks, you're going to really, really start to see the market moving. It's going to be really interesting. You're going to really want to watch it. These prices should not be used right now, especially right now. These prices should not be used to buy or sell cards, especially the high value cards. You need to do your own market research. This should be a guide for you, but honestly, this week, I usually have a lot of faith in my guide. This week, I think it's a little bit low. I would not personally sell any cards at these prices. I'll tell you right now what I would actually be anticipating the market is actually at. There was a Teklo Foundry Heart that sold the last couple of days, last day and a half, for 1,900, and there was a Skullbone Cross Wrap that sold for 1,800. The Grass, the Storm Striders, the Arcane Knight, Skullcap all got bumped up in price and have not sold yet on eBay. I would personally say that right now, today, the class-specific cold foils are really sitting at more like 2,200 to 2,400, and the Arcanite Skullcap is sitting at more like $4,000, $3,000 to $4,000. That's what I would say the market is really at right now. It just hasn't realized it with sold listings. I would say there might be some that are moving back and forth in private hands, although I really honestly believe that the private hands are probably not really selling cards right now. And it's going to become incredibly difficult to get these cards over the next couple weeks because of the way that the market's reacting to this. Although there was a lot of cold foils for sale. So this is what I'm talking about. The higher value stuff is going to be a lot more difficult to find, but you can start to see the way that the market is moving from things like the cold foils because there's more of them, and because it's an easier barrier of entry, and because it seems like less risk to sell them, but people are sleeping on the cold foils. We've been talking about it for months. Achilles Accelerator didn't really move much. Bullseye Bracers didn't really move much. Just wait, stuff did move. Crown of Dichotomy, a lot of these cards had already moved up, right? They had already moved from the 150 range to the 250 range, right? Bullseye Bracers, we're just waiting on a sold listing for. Crown of Dichotomy moved up to 260. Robe of Rapture moved up to 300. Talismanic Lens, another sold at 300. Vest of the First Fist moved from 200 to 240. Bracers of Belief, this is 3 weeks old. We're waiting for another sale of a Bracers of Belief. I would be willing to bet a Bracers of Belief on it that the next sale would be about $300. I'm not going to do that because you could just go and fake a sale, but it'll be around $300. Mage Master Boots weirdly sold for $170. I think that's going to be a abnormality, but here's where things started to move. All these null rune hoods were sitting at $175 to $150 the last 2 or 3 weeks, and now all of a sudden are selling at $280, $290, $280, and we're waiting on null rune boots to sell for the same price because the market is moving on all the cards, and this is a snapshot of what should be happening on the legendaries. The problem is that there's just not enough legendaries for it to happen, and me and George talked about that a little bit this morning. If you haven't caught on to that video, the market just doesn't have the volume to accept the new prices. People out there would be willing to pay more than these prices for these cards if they were available, but they're just simply not available because they're iron hands, diamond hands. I mean, it's crazy. So Majestic Rainbow Foils. Oh, sorry, your average. I got excited. Your average, your average is sitting at $240.17. That's a gain of 17%. And I mean, just look at this. This shouldn't be here. That's this week's price. But we started down at around $100, and then now we're just skyrocketing $250. So Majestic Rainbow Foils, these are super hard to find too. We did have another Red the Ledger that sold on TCG Player for $250, and we had a weird Art of War that was a best offer that was accepted from a $500 listing on eBay at $420. I think that actually happened before the market happened, though, before the update. So that's a decrease of 3%. Again, don't listen to that. Don't listen to it. And a Command and Conquer, I mean, this is now originally the 24th, and then we had another one sell on the 28th of February. So this is now a whole month old price on Command and Conquer Rainbow Foil. I anticipate that is not an accurate price. So I like to be transparent with you guys. But the market, it just doesn't know it yet because there's not sold listings yet. The Majestics, all on the move. We're up 20. This is like where I'm starting to say again, like we are seeing the market move. You're just not seeing it in the expensive stuff yet because people have risen their price so much higher than the market is currently accepting. But the lower stuff, we're seeing 24% gains. We're seeing 17% gains in the Cold Foil Commons. Like the market is speaking in the lower things. High Octane up to $50, Tekla Core up to $45, Red in the Ledger to $45, Three of a Kind to $36. There was a Mordred Tide that sold on TCG Player for $100. I put it in red because that seems like an abnormality in the rest of the market, but another one sold, again, is what I'm saying, for $100. Blazing Aether sold for $35. Sonic Boom, we did not have a sold listings for, although there was a 9.5 Sonic Boom that sold for $1,100. This was a foil, so it should be here, but a 9.5 that sold for $1,100 today on eBay. All right, Command and Conquer, another one sold at $225. That puts your average Majestic at $71, which is a 24% increase. And you can see we're just kind of moving up good there. So the super rare rainbow foils, we had 3 or 4 sell this week. Ninth Blade of the Blood Oath, kind of the biggest one, selling at $130, and then a Tome of the Aether Wind selling at $100. That puts everything up 12% to your average sitting at $94.27. And you can see we have movement there, but it's kind of been a plateau. You can see a huge growth upwards and then kind of a plateau. All right, the super rares. We had a couple sold too, about 4 of them. The average is sitting around $12. Nothing major. I guess a significant Tome of the Arcane again moving up, and Ninth Blade moving up. So equally moving up. Oh, and then an Induction Chamber dropped from 29 to 20. So that's where your loss is there. Everything else is kind of moving up. The rare rainbow foils, remember I just used TCG low on this stuff. Your average is sitting at $17. There are some that are sitting pretty expensive, and then there's some that are sitting pretty low. Again, you're going to be able to make a bulk deal on some of these, but if you want one specific one, this seems to be what people are asking for in TCG Player, and I'm sure there have been some that have sold around those prices as people are filling out their collections. Your rare, this is the non-foil rares, are sitting at about an average of $1. Again, sellers haven't really done anything with their cards, but what that tells me is that they are selling. They're just not selling super rapidly, and that's why the growth is so nominal. The rainbow foil commons, also same thing. I mean, they have a little bit of value, but they're not really moving. They're not really going down. $5 on average. I would say if you're selling, 200 of them, you give somebody a deal and say, hey, $250, something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it just kind of is what it is. All right, let's get to our EV calculation. All the stuff is the same. Again, I use this 1 in 40 chance at a fabled. Link something in below. I mean, if you guys disagree with the 1 in 40, there's been a couple of people who have pushed back on the 1 in 40. Most people have accepted it and agree with me. I'd love to see an article. I'd love to see a statement. I know Rudy says 1 in 60. I would love to see some evidence for anything other than 1 in 40, because 1 in 40 seems to be what we've accepted, and seems to be what's been, I watch a lot of box opening videos. I watched Chris Sayers over on Flesh and Blood and Seals, and it just seems to be 1 in 40 in my opinion. But all right, box EV is sitting at 1867.67. That's 1,867, and this is for everything, right? This includes all the commons, all the common rainbow foils, and if you take out the non-foil commons, you're sitting more at 1654.70, and this is the number that we track. And then if you don't hit a legendary, you don't hit a fabled, you don't hit a non-foil, you don't use your non-foil commons, you're sitting at more like $844, although that still includes the average hitting a majestic super or a majestic rainbow foil, which again is 1 in 4 boxes. So pretty significant difference there. That brings your EV. Let's compare that to where we were last week. We have risen 16%. A lot of that is going to be due to the Eye of Ophidia and a couple of the other more expensive cards, the legendaries that are moving up. Interesting to see that. That is not moving up as rapidly as the box prices. I've been saying the box prices have been undervalued for a while. All right, here we go. The top 10. Let's see. Tome of the Aether Wind, the rainbow foil version, went from 40 to 100. That's a gain of 150%. And if you remember, that price was a little bit weird a couple weeks ago. And so this is kind of the market kind of accepting the new prices and kind of correcting itself. Read the Ledger. This is the same thing. Last week we had a weird sold listing on eBay for 120. It didn't make sense in the market. This week we finally got another sold listing at 250. So it kind of just corrected itself. Ninth Blade, the Blood Oath, went from 70 to 130. That's a growth increase of 85%. And then we have a ton of cold foil commons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cold foil commons, all increasing between 20 and 64%. The non-foil gainers, Mordred Tide, of course, that huge sold listing, that's going to be, that card's going to drop in value. We're going to see another sold listing that's going to be less than that. But this week, this is the data. It's an increase of 185%. High Octane went from $30 to $50. That's an increase of 66%. And then Red in the Ledger back at it again from 30 to 45, which is a 50% increase. The losers were the Art of War Rainbow Foil, which went from 650 to 420. That's a loss of 35%. And then Mage Master Boots, this was a cold foil common, losing just 3%. And then really nothing else much lost, honestly. The rest of the market just kind of stayed the same, or we didn't have sold listings for it. But the non-foil losers, we did have Induction Chamber, which went from $29 to $20. That's a loss of 31%. Pursuit of Knowledge went from 7 to 6. That's just a loss of $1 or 14%. And Spark of Genius went from 23 to 22. That's $1 for 4%. So tomorrow we'll do WTR Alpha. Really, I think make sure you're doing your own homework this week. A lot of you guys are going to be buying cards. My official stance is that I would not sell a card at these current prices. I would be making sure to do my own opinions about stuff and put my own attitude into the sale or attitude into the trade. Be very, very, very careful. There are people who are trying to scoop up lots of the stuff based on these new market information. Make sure you're doing your homework. Make sure if you are selling, it's because you need to sell and have money. I highly advise that you trade for something that you rather have that's of equal kind of rarity or something like that. So anyway, I hope you all have a great day. Remember to be kind to the people around you. We'll see you tomorrow for WTR. It's going to be crazy. This is a crazy week. I love it.